Metro Atlantic region is pretty awesome. But also being the region's #1 selling certified used Toyota dealer, that's just icing on the cake.
Coons Tyson's Toyota. We're gonna wow ya.
Tonight, fireworks at Trump Tower. The president-elect Donald Trump, his first news conference since July, blasting unconfirmed reports being investigated by U.S. intelligence about Russia and whether Vladimir Putin has material on the new president to blackmail him. And what we now know about that report. Brian Ross is standing by. And that very tense moment today with a reporter.
Since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance? You are attacking.
Also breaking tonight, the family business. Since Election Day, the president-elect promising to offer a plan to avoid conflicts of interest. Tonight, his big reveal. And this evening, the Office of Government Ethics calling it, quote, wholly inadequate. The showdown, the fierce questioning of Mr. Trump's pick for Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, a leading Republican grilling him. And the alarming images coming in tonight. Tearful hostages begging the president-elect Donald Trump to save their lives.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night, and we begin with the lightning round of questions today at Trump Tower. This was the president-elect's first news conference in 168 days, since July, in fact. And Mr. Trump came ready. The president-elect taking aim at the intelligence community, calling it, quote, disgraceful, those unconfirmed reports Russia could have information on Mr. Trump to hold over him. And on the Russian hacking during the election, the president-elect was asked, did anyone on his team have contact with the Russians during the campaign? And there was a very tense exchange with a reporter from another network. We do have it all covered tonight, beginning with our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
It's Donald Trump versus the intelligence community. In his first press conference as president-elect, Trump accused the nation's top intelligence officers of leaking those unconfirmed reports that Russia was gathering salacious information to blackmail him.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public.
Trump set out to assure the American people that no amount of investigation will turn up anything.
If they come back with any kind of conclusion that any of it stands up, that any of it is true, will you consider your position?
There's nothing they can come back with.
But Trump made a big acknowledgement today, for the first time, saying he accepts the intelligence agency's conclusion that it was Russia that hacked the Democrats during the campaign.
As far as hacking, I think it was Russia.
Although later he seemed to hedge.
But you know what? Could have been others also.
Still, he did not dispute the intelligence community's other explosive finding.
On that intelligence report, the second part of their conclusion was that Vladimir Putin ordered it because he aspired to help you in the election. Do you accept that part of the finding?
If Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability, because we have a horrible relationship with Russia. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break.
But in response to a question from ABC's Cecilia Vega, another first, a Trump admonishment of Vladimir Putin.
If you indeed do believe that Russia was behind the hacking, what is your message to Vladimir Putin right now?
He shouldn't be doing it. He won't be doing it. Russia will have much greater respect for our country when I'm leading it than when other people have led it.
As the press conference ended and Trump moved through the crowd, Cecilia asked him point blank whether anyone on his team communicated with Russia before the election.
Did you or anyone in your campaign have any contact with Russia leading up to or during the campaign? Nothing at all.
No, Trump said, not at all.
And John Karl with us live at Trump Tower tonight. And John, there was that very tense moment between the president-elect and a reporter from CNN. Mr. Trump had already called out CNN for breaking the story on the Russians possibly having material on the president-elect. Here's what happened.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? Mr. President-elect. Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are
is
attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect, can you state categorically, Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No,
give
I'm
us a
not gonna give you
question? Can you?
John, you were there. Clearly, the president-elect angry about those headlines that broke on CNN.
And not just angry, David, but seeking retribution. He wanted to make CNN pay a price for breaking that story. It's a sign that Donald Trump, who had very tense relations with the news media during the campaign, will continue to play hardball with reporters.
All right, John Carl, our thanks to you and Cecilia Vega there at Trump Tower today. Meantime, tonight, we have learned the intelligence community does continue to investigate those unconfirmed claims, the allegations that Russia might have been gathering material, video of Mr. Trump that could be used to blackmail him. But tonight, our team already discovering some serious flaws in that report. And here's our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross.
Officials tonight confirm that while the allegations about Russia and Donald Trump are completely unsubstantiated, they are the work of a respected former British spy, hired first by Republican operatives during the primaries, then later by Democratic operatives, who turned over these memos to the FBI last August. And today we caught up with Republican Senator John McCain, who confirmed he gave copies of the memos to the FBI director just last month.
I looked at it, I decided this is a matter for the FBI and gave it to the FBI.
Tonight, a senior intelligence official tells ABC News that Trump was directly told about the allegations last Friday at Trump Tower when he received a classified briefing about Russian hacking, which contradicts what Trump aide Kellyanne Conway initially said last night to Seth Meyers.
I believe it said they did brief him on it.
Well, he has said that he is not aware of that.
Okay, that concerns me.
Now, an examination by ABC News reveals some serious flaws in the information. The memos claim Trump lawyer Michael Cohen was part of an ongoing secret liaison relationship with the Russians and met with them in Prague in August 2016. Cohen told ABC News and his boss he has never been in Prague.
I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute, he didn't leave the country.
The report given to the FBI also claims that Cohen's father-in-law was a leading Moscow property developer close to Putin. But when ABC News went to the home of the property developer in Moscow today, we found a case of mistaken identity. Same name, but no connection to Trump's lawyer Cohen. Other allegations revolve around Trump's travel to Moscow for a Miss Universe contest in 2013. And whether the Russians filmed him with prostitutes to be able to blackmail him if they so wished. Trump strongly denied that today, saying he knows how to avoid Russia's spy tricks.
I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place.
And Brian Ross with us again tonight. Even though you've been able to knock down some of the allegations in this report, you point out the FBI is still investigating. The FBI also taking some heat tonight about the investigation it did reveal and the one it didn't.
That's right, David. Authorities say these allegations are just too serious to ignore, and they've been investigating it since well before the election. In fact, when FBI Director Comey publicly revealed and reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, the Trump-Russia investigation was ongoing. But he did not tell the American people about that investigation, David.
Brian Ross, you'll stay on it with your team. Thank you. Now to the Trump family business tonight. The president-elect promising a detailed plan for some time now to address concerns about possible conflicts of interest that could arise. How will he separate the family business from the White House? Tonight, his plan revealed here, and late today, the nonpartisan Office of Government Ethics calling it, quote, wholly inadequate. Here's ABC's chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, tonight.
Within hours of his election night victory, there were demands to know how the president-elect would separate his work from the White House. A week later, this picture. Trump meeting with the Indian developers of 2 Trump towers in their country, a Twitter user posting the picture before taking it down. The Trumps sitting down with 60 Minutes. Ivanka Trump's company then promoting the $10,000 bracelet she wore during the interview. Mr. Trump standing beside boxes of legal paperwork, unveiling the long-awaited plans for all of the business bearing the Trump name, but not before pointing out he could actually handle both.
I understand. They don't want presidents getting tangled up in minutiae. They want a president to run the country. So I could actually run my business. I could actually run my business and run government at the same time. I don't like the way that looks, but I would be able to do that if I wanted to. I'd be the only one that would be able to do that.
Today, Trump said he will maintain ownership of the Trump Organization, spanning more than 500 companies in at least 14 countries. Trump says he has relinquished leadership, putting the organization in a trust and turning it over to his sons, Don Jr. and Eric.
I hope at the end of 8 years I'll come back and I'll say, oh, you did a good job. Otherwise, if they do a bad job, I'll say, you're fired.
Trump also making the point he turned away billions just this weekend. But even the offer to an incoming president highlighting the potential conflicts.
I was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai with a very, very, very amazing man, a great, great developer from the Middle East.
But Trump says he'll preside over no new deals and that his sons will do no new foreign deals as long as their father is the president. Ivanka Trump also stepping down from her business and plans to relocate her family to Washington.
Rebecca Jarvis with us live tonight. And Rebecca, your team reaching out to a number of ethics experts today. What are you hearing? Is this enough?
David, many believe this plan does not go far enough. The Office of Government Ethics, as you said, calling it wholly inadequate. They believe the plan as is does not achieve the goal of no conflicts.
And what about Mr. Trump announcing today that he will donate some of the profits from his hotels?
David, so many questions about Trump's hotels, in particular that hotel in Washington, D.C. Mr. Trump today said that while he's not required to do it, he will donate the profits at his hotels from foreign governments to the U.S. Treasury.
Reaction pouring in on all of this tonight. Rebecca Jarvis live on Wall Street. Thank you. Meantime, the showdown on Capitol Hill today. On the hot seat, the president-elect's choice for Secretary of State, former Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson. And the toughest questioning coming from a prominent Republican. There is new reporting at this hour. Could that Republican end up voting against Tillerson? ABC's Mary Bruce back on the Hill tonight.
The man who could be the nation's top diplomat strolled into a grilling about his close relationship with Vladimir Putin.
Mr. Tillerson, what do you say to criticism that you're too close to Russia?
Those pictures of them toasting with champagne, Putin giving him Russia's Order of Friendship award. Former Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson addressed the concerns head on.
We must also be clear-eyed about our relationship with Russia. Russia today poses a danger. Our NATO allies are right to be alarmed at a resurgent Russia.
So will there be a new relationship?
I think the important conversation that we have to have with them is, does Russia want to now and forever be an adversary of the United States? We're not likely to ever be friends. We need to move Russia from being an adversary always to a partner at times.
He says he believes Russia was behind the campaign hacking, but wouldn't say whether he supports the Obama administration's new sanctions.
So I ask, based on your views of Russian politics and your experience, is it possible for something like this involving the United States elections to have happened without Vladimir Putin knowing about it and authorizing it?
I think that's a fair assumption.
That he would have.
Yes.
Needed to.
But Republican Senator Marco Rubio pushed further, citing Russia's role in the killing of millions of civilians in Aleppo, Syria.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
I would not use that term.
Mr. Tillerson, do you believe that Vladimir Putin and his cronies are responsible for ordering the murder of countless dissidents, journalists, and political opponents?
I do not have sufficient information to make that claim.
None of this is classified, Mr. Tillerson. These people are dead.
Tillerson says he and President-elect Trump have talked broadly about foreign policy, but not about Russia.
And I would have thought that Russia would be at the very top of that, considering all the actions that are taking place. Is that did not happen?
That has not occurred yet, Senator.
It's pretty amazing.
And Mary Bruce with us from Capitol Hill tonight. And Mary, Senator Marco Rubio, we saw there grilling Rex Tillerson. And after the hearing, the senator making it clear he wasn't happy with what he heard, and he's not committing to anything here.
David, after more than 8 hours of testimony, Marco Rubio still is not convinced. He says the country needs moral clarity in its foreign policy, and he's not sure Tillerson can deliver. Now, if Rubio does not support Tillerson, he may not pass a vote in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and that could put his confirmation in real jeopardy. David?
Mary Bruce live on Capitol Hill again tonight. Thanks, Mary. Next to a direct appeal to President-elect Trump tonight from two professors, an American and an Australian, held hostage by the Taliban. These images tonight from a new video surfacing showing the American Kevin King and Australian Timothy Weeks tearfully begging Mr. Trump to negotiate for their release. They were abducted outside their university in Kabul in August. The current U.S. policy bans negotiating with any hostage takers. And in other news tonight from Charleston, Dylan Roof, formerly sentenced to die. It was yesterday we reported a jury handed down that punishment for the killing of 9 black parishioners at an historic black church. In court today, family members of his victims speaking directly to him about their pain and sorrow. Roof, though, refusing to look at any of them, even when they asked him to. He is appealing his sentence. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Wednesday. One monster storm and 2 weather emergencies we're following at this hour. The water dangers playing out and the rescues now underway. And then the horrific driving conditions tonight.